Hello listeners everywhere. Welcome to the Archive of Audio Antiquities, a voyage into the vaults of wonders on the wireless. In a moment, Simon Exton and Ken Moss will be here to speak to you.
Hello everyone, and a very warm welcome back to the Archive of Audio Antiquities. I'm Ken Moss.
I'm Simon Exton.
Dr. Exton, what have we got queued up on the reel-to-reel this time?
It sticks out half a mile.
What puts the smile on every face? What is the seaside style? What is the holiday place? It sticks out half a mile. It sticks out half a mile.
This was a radio sitcom first broadcast on BBC Radio 2 from 1983 to 1984, starring John Le Mesurier, Ian Lavender, Bill Pertwee and Vivian Martin. The series served as a sequel to the TV wartime sitcom Dad's Army, written by Harold Snowd and Michael Knowles.
And it also starred Arthur Lowe, but only for the pilot.
It did. Well, let's get that one out of the way straight away.
What are you doing here, Wilson? At this branch? In this office? I mean, where's the manager?
Well, actually, you're looking at him.
You? You're the manager?
Yes, that's right, yes.
Standing in because of illness, I suppose.
No. I've been manager here for exactly a year today, as a matter of fact.
Good Lord.
Yes. Well, why don't you sit down before you fall down?
He doesn't sound very well.
He sounds heavily refreshed. Apparently he wasn't. Apparently he was ill, and I don't think he lived terribly long after the recording of the pilot. He was somebody who enjoyed a drink.
That's putting it mildly, yes.
And had done his entire career, and apparently it never altered his professionalism one speck. Apparently he always turned up, he was always script perfect. Even if he'd been heavily laced the night before, he turned up and he was ready to do his job because he was old school. So I don't think that when he recorded this, he was pissed. I think when he recorded this, he was ill. But it sounds like he was pissed.
It does sound like he was pissed. There's no getting around it. The pilot wasn't broadcast until 2004 when it was broadcast on Radio 7. I've heard and read the he was ill story, and it's very difficult to deny. Apparently he had narcolepsy in the end. However, the only lingering, flickering doubt that I've got is that he recorded an interview with Pebble Mill literally 12 hours before he died, and he didn't sound like this. But you're the doctor in the room, so I will take your lead. But for this, it's quite difficult to hear anything other than someone who is...
wankered.
Yeah.
I would really have preferred not to hear the pilot because I would much prefer to think of him in his glory days as Mannering, where he is just a superb actor playing the character of a buffoon and doing it brilliantly, entertainingly well. This is Kenneth Williams in Carry On, Emmanuel. I wish they hadn't done it.
Yeah. On balance, the pilot... I mean, you can understand why they've done it. Getting the Dad's Army cast back together 5 years later. Woohoo!
Well, a couple of the Dad's Army cast. And I think the thing that this really falls over on is the fact that it's not an ensemble. And the thing that really stood in Dad's Army's favour, and the thing it was brilliant at, was as an ensemble cast. And even if there were characters that weren't going to get a word in one week, and then next week it will be doomed, we're all doomed, or they don't like it up them, or whatever. They were all there. It was all ensemble, and you weren't relying on just a couple of characters. And at the end of the day, yeah, fair enough, Wilson's a strong character. Pike isn't a strong enough character to cope with the role they've given him.
To give some background to this thing, the idea is that, pilot aside, Hodges comes forward and takes Pike for a drink on the pretense of getting together with him, investing in a pier in Framlington. Is it Framlington?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. On sea, and renovating an old pier. And Pike is just about savvy enough to ask, well, of all the people that we used to know from our army days 3 years ago, why have you come to see me? And of course, it's because Uncle Arthur is a bank manager and can give them the loan. Hilarity ensues.
Well, except it doesn't.
Yeah. You see, I went into this. We don't often talk off mic about what we think about things that we're about to record.
Unless it's really shit, in which case we slag it off. And this isn't really shit, it's just bland.
Yeah, now you see, I went into this I heard a couple of episodes, and your general gist was, this is all a bit samey. And after the first couple of episodes, it's all a bit samey. However, I've changed my view massively. It's all a bit samey, but I've really grown to love it. Now, the idea was originally to listen to the whole thing. There were 13 episodes produced, not including the pilot. That was actually a bit of a slog for us to do for one episode of Audio Antiquities. So we just resigned ourselves to doing the first 3 and the pilot. And I've carried on. So I've done 4 and 5 as well. Now, I have got to admit, I concur with you. It's very samey, and that ensemble feeling is lost because you've only got a shadow of the Dad's Army cast. It's nothing to do with the Home Guard. And so you're playing on the characters they used to be rather than what they actually are. However, I found myself just absorbed by it. I don't know how much of that is because you know vividly what the characters look like, you know what the personas are, you know their mannerisms. So I think that helps an awful lot in a way that if this had been a standalone radio series with a new cast, you wouldn't have and it wouldn't have. And that's probably coloured my enjoyment of it a bit more. But I found myself warming to it enormously as the episodes rolled by. You've probably got a different view.
Yeah, I've actually, in the past, heard all of the episodes. Now, with both that listen and this listen, I'm not listening to it the way it was originally intended to, a week apart with each episode. And I've only listened to, this time around, the pilot and the first 3. And even with that, it's samey. Now, part of that is because the pilot is redone pretty much word for word with extra stuff in the first couple of episodes of the new series.
Yes.
And the pilot, you can't get away from the fact that Arthur Lowe was, for whatever reason, and I am choosing to believe it is illness, because everything else I've heard about the man sings the praises of his professionalism. Whatever you think of the pilot, he doesn't put in a great performance for whatever reason. And then going straight on to the first and second episode of the redone with Hodges, who was always a background 2-line character and really doesn't have the gravitas to hold this series together. Wilson is the character that is doing all the heavy lifting here.
Yeah, it's difficult to disagree too far with that. On Hodges, I must say that I do like the fact that he does have it. Bill Pertwee does have that command. He does have that forthright way of speaking. So in terms of who else it could have been, I think there's only really Fraser would have got it, because you need that third character who is a little bit more dynamic.
Yeah, you need somebody pushing the plan, because neither Wilson nor Pike would do this on their own. So there needed to be something. I mean, Fraser wasn't a possibility, was he?
Had he already gone by this point?
Yeah, about 10 years before this.
Well, this was only 83 and it finished in 78, so it won't be that far.
Fraser didn't stay until the end. Oh, no, it's Walker I'm thinking of, isn't it?
Walker, yeah, James Beck died in the middle of the run, yeah.
Yeah, Fraser, yeah. It would be a big tweak of his character to actually be driving anything rather than just being very negative about it.
Yeah, so there's no one else really in... Clive Dunn, I suppose, but again, it would be probably too much of a comedy turn alongside Pike.
And he was very subservient to Mannering and, by extension, Wilson. I can see why they've gone with Hodges. For all he's the only choice, I don't think he's a good choice. There's almost no plot. And there aren't enough strong characters for this to be a character-driven piece. I think it really falls between those two rails. And, yeah, the memory cheats on this one.
Instead of getting back to what you've said about the episodes being samey, I think the problem is that there's very little plot in each episode, and each episode doesn't really... Because with something like this, with a renovation series, they buy a dilapidated pier, what you'd really want is for each episode to fix a problem. And that's basically what the premise is. So the first episode is all about getting the loan. The second episode is going for a walk up and down the pier and seeing what's wrong with it. The third episode is let's have a look at the electrics. But nothing's resolved. It's not like we've fixed that problem, what's the next problem? How are we getting to? And by episode 13, it's up and running, and they make a bollocks of it for series 2. And I know that the second series was written, but John LeMessurier had died at the end of this, so that scuppered it really. But yeah, there's not a right lot of meat on the bone. It's really, you're listening to it purely because it's a sequel to Dad's Army and nothing else. But I think the cast helps enormously as well. Because again, you've got John LeMessurier, who at times sounds almost John Pertwee. You've got Ian Lavender as Pike, who I could not shift from my head on audio as George Roper from George and Mildred.
It's all happening, Uncle Arthur.
No.
Mum's ever so thrilled as well.
Is she?
Yeah, didn't you notice when you had breakfast at our place this morning?
Oh, well, tell you what, we could wear a flower in our buttonhole. Yeah, hey, a tulip. Yeah.
All his mannerisms, his way of talking, it was like a sort of slightly younger, squeakier George Roper. And I wish I'd not planted that thought in my head. And then you've got Bill Pertwee as the strident, warden. Half of the battle is it's not written by the same people, and the mannerisms that they all had, and they did all have them in Dad's Army, aren't transferred across. Beyond the Uncle Arthur thing, I was half expecting at some point for Put That Light Out to make an appearance in some contrivance of a comedy scenario, and that would have elicited quite a laugh, I think. But it didn't. Well, not in the ones I've listened to so far. I've never heard this. I know that you've heard the whole thing before, but this is brand new to me, which is part of the reason why I wanted to do it.
Yeah, its importance in history. Oh, I really would have liked to like this. And when I was first getting into radio comedy, I remember quite liking this. But it's very samey. None of the characters have the Mannering factor.
Oh, that's true. Yes, you can't get away from it.
Wilson is brilliant. John LeMessurier is brilliant. But he's a brilliant second in command. And Hodges doesn't have the Mannering gravitas. Arthur Lowe, when he did the pilot, had lost the Mannering gravitas because he was so ill. I think if this had been done 5 years earlier, it could possibly have worked. But the only character that could really have supported this was Mannering, and that wasn't possible.
No, it's a pity, really, because like you, I really, really wanted to like this. Or, to be fair, I really wanted to love it. And I think there's a reason it's not been better remembered than it is. But that said, I enjoyed it a lot. As I got into it, I found myself playing the next episode. They are not meant to be played back to back, but I really enjoyed the ride on this one. Shall we rate it in earworms?
This is the song that never ends. Yes, it goes on and on, my friends.
I'm going to go in purely because of how much I enjoyed it with 8. I know, it's not a great example of a solid radio sitcom. However, it's got a place in history as a sequel that no one's ever heard of. The cast are wonderful. They are great. It's a good, solid cast. Whatever flaws there are in the script, whatever shortcomings it gives them in terms of material to get their chops around, I was really, really engrossed in this by the time I got to episode 5. And on the back of it, I will listen to the rest of them and probably enjoy those as well. So purely from an enjoyment point of view, not in terms of the actual material, I suppose really when you listen to something, it's the enjoyment. The enjoyment trumps everything, really. So yeah, it's...
Yeah, absolutely. And I would never want to denigrate somebody's enjoyment, even if I think you're wrong.
Which you do. What are you giving it?
And actually with this, I don't think you're wrong, and I can understand how this appeals to your taste. I can understand why there are fans of it. It doesn't appeal to me. There are entertaining parts of it. Wilson puts in a lovely performance, but he was never the lead and he could never be the lead. And the 3 main characters that they've got, none of them are ones that could be the lead. I didn't actively dislike it. It's just I have no interest in playing any more. 5.
Oh, it's one more than I was expecting to give.
I don't think it's badly done. I don't think there's a bad performance in that. I don't think it's terribly written, although I don't think it's particularly well written. It's all just a little bit middle of the road.
And they'll continue singing it forever just because.
So, it's time for Podcast of the Week. Dr. Exton, this is time for a non-professional podcast to shine. What have you got for us this time?
Well, I've kind of got a semi-professional podcast.
Oh, you're letting the side down here.
Well, I'm not. It is indie, but it's indie made by industry professionals. And actually, fitting in perfectly with its 6 out half a mile, I'm going to go for something that I don't particularly like myself, but I can completely see the appeal of it, and I can understand why people do like it. And that is Samuel Barnett's Unknown. It is 2 actors faking up a walking tour of London. The first series is investigating Shakespeare's lost play. My problem with it is that it's very lovey and very, very actory. And there are people that will massively appeal to. And I can see this as being the sort of thing that you would really like.
Really? Because I hate all that lovey stuff.
Okay, fair enough. It's done by 2 actual proper actors. One who is the fellow who played Dirk Gently in the TV version of Dirk Gently.
Stephen Mangan?
No, the American one.
Oh, I've not seen it.
Who is, I think, Samuel Barnett. And the other one is Tom Price, who was police blokey in Torchwood.
Oh, right, okay.
They play their parts as themselves really, really well. It's just I hate all the wanky, lovey pretentiousness.
Johnny. Dear Johnny.
Dear Johnny. Johnny.
Dear Johnny. We loved him. We all did.
Yes. And then behind his back, arsehole. Yeah. Give it a go. I actually, with what you've just said, I don't know whether this is going to be your cup of tea or not, but you will be able to tell within the first episode. And each episode's about 20 minutes.
I'll give it a go.
It's well written. It's written by James Goss.
Okay.
Of Doctor Who-age fame. It is really well written. If it's the sort of thing that appeals to you, it will appeal to you massively in spades because it's very well done. It's just the sort of thing that I'm not wildly keen on.
Is it Toast of London lovey or is it London lovey?
No. It's several orders of magnitude down from Toast of London. Toast of London, I hate it.
Oh.
This I don't mind. It's just the whole theatrical stuff leaves me a bit cold. But, they're talking about a lost Shakespeare play. They're allowed to be a bit theatrical.
I'll not prejudge. I'll give it a go.
And people out there in listener land, you're not often going to hear me say this, but don't take too much notice of what I think. Make your own mind up.
So next time we are diving back into BBC audio territory with a Doctor Who, and this time it's the TV soundtrack of The Evil of the Daleks, the final story of Patrick Troughton's first season. It doesn't exist, but the soundtrack does.
It's kind of a half woohoo because I have very mixed feelings about Evil of the Daleks. I think it's overlong. I think the 60s stuff, for all I love contemporary Who, is a bit wasted. I love the Victoriana. I love the Scarrow stuff. I don't think it needs all the stuff in the 1960s. But when it hits its stride, it really, really hits its stride. Anyway, spoilers, sweetie.
Darling, I've watched this before, I've heard this. I knew it inside out.
I'm a professional.
I am woefully unfamiliar with this story. I've seen the surviving episode a few times. The rest of it, I've got to be honest, I've never been mad struck on it enough to get intimately familiar with. So this will be a nice re-listen, if I'm honest. Getting intimately acquainted with all 7 episodes of, Patrick Troughton. Yeah, you're on a winner with that, so let's see what the rest of the story's like. Until next month, thank you very much for paying us another visit in the archive. We'll be back soon. Ta-ta.
Bye now.
The archive of audio antiquities featured Simon Exton and Ken Moss, and the announcer was Jenny at Blue Box 99. All featured soundtracks are the property of their respective producers, and no infringement of copyright is intended. Title music was by Edward White, and the programme was produced by Maverick Productions. For more information, please visit maverickproductionsuk.blogspot.com or find us on social media.